I have a confession to make. When the original Asus ROG Ally launched, it wasn't just a device. It was a promise. The promise of true Windows PC gaming in the palm of your hand. A device that laughed in the face of its competition. But let's be brutally honest. That promise came with a catch. For many of us, the honeymoon period ended with a battery life that was, frankly, insulting. It ended with joysticks that felt like a compromise and an operating system that felt like it was actively trying to sabotage your game session. The ROG Ally was brilliant, but it was flawed. Well, stop breathing. Because the ROG Ally X is not just an iteration. It's a re-engineering. It's a complete overhaul. And for the next 30 minutes, we're going to dive so deep into this machine that by the end, you will know if this is the handheld that finally justifies the hype, wipes the floor with its rivals, and delivers on the promise of the ultimate PC portable experience. If you thought you knew handhelds, think again. This is where the story changes. Let's go. Let's cut the fat and go straight to the meat. Asus knows the two things that killed the original Ally's long-term appeal: endurance and efficiency. The battery life on the original was a joke at high-performance settings. We got maybe 90 minutes. Unacceptable. The Ally X changes the narrative completely. We're not talking about a 10 or 20% bump. We are looking at a massive, near doubling in capacity. This is not just extra playtime. This is a fundamental shift in how you use the device. It means a cross-country flight is now a gaming marathon, not a 40-minute sprint to the nearest charger. But a bigger battery is just heavy metal if you don't manage the juice. So let's talk internals. We are seeing major tweaks to the motherboard layout, the thermal solution, and the power delivery. This isn't just a bigger tank. It's a more efficient engine. The Z1 Extreme chip is already a powerhouse, but with a refined chassis and cooling system. One we'll explore in depth later. It could sustain those turbo frequencies for longer, delivering consistent high frame rates without the thermal throttling that plagued its predecessor. This is gaming, uninterrupted. This is performance you can finally trust. Here is the first true game changer that almost nobody is talking about yet. Memory. The original Ally shipped with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Fine, but barely. Windows is a memory hog, and when you're sharing that memory pool between the system and the dedicated VRAM for the graphics, you are constantly bumping up against a frustrating ceiling. The ROG Ally X? It brings an unprecedented upgrade. 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. Let that sink in. This is not just a number. This is the difference between barely running a demanding AAA title and cruising through it. It completely unshackles the Z1 Extreme. It means you can allocate more VRAM to your games, preventing stuttering and allowing for higher texture settings that make your games look genuinely next-gen. For a PC handheld, this is the single most important performance upgrade next to the battery. And storage? The original's proprietary M.2 2230 slot was a nightmare for easy upgrades. Asus has listened, and the Ally X is rumored to finally adopt the more common, cheaper, and faster M.2 2242 or even the full-size 2280 format. This isn't just convenience. It's a commitment to the enthusiast market. It's saying, we trust you to customize and upgrade your own machine. Now we move to the physical, the part you actually touch. The original Ally was sleek, but it felt fragile. It had one colossal flaw that haunts me to this day: the joysticks. The dead zones, the feel, the longevity, it all felt secondary. The Ally X is reported to feature an entirely redesigned grip and ergonomics. It's rumored to be slightly thicker, but in a way that makes it feel more solid, more substantial, and critically, more comfortable for those extended sessions the new battery now allows. A slight increase in weight is a small price to pay for a device that doesn't feel like it's going to melt in your hands. And the controls. This is the point where the ROG Ally X could silence every single critic. The triggers and buttons are expected to have a completely new feel, and most importantly, the joysticks are rumored to be replaced with high-quality Hall effect sensors. If that's true, we can wave goodbye to stick drift forever. This is not an optional upgrade. It's a mandatory correction that instantly elevates the Ally X from a great idea to a masterful piece of engineering. They've also added more customizable back buttons, a huge win for complex PC titles. Asus is turning this handheld from a proof of concept into a finely tuned, ergonomic gaming weapon. Let's talk about the window to your world, the screen. The original Ally's display was already excellent. 120 Hz, bright, and featuring VRR, variable refresh rate. That VRR technology is arguably the single most important feature for a Windows handheld, smoothing out those wild frame rate swings. But in this day and age, with competitors flaunting OLED, can the Ally X stick with its current panel? Reports suggest the screen hardware itself might remain largely similar to keep costs in check, but the calibration and the driver-level optimization will see major improvements. The key here is not a new panel, but making the existing tech work flawlessly with the new internals. However, the real war is fought in the software. Automaticratse. This was the original Ally's Achilles heel, clunky, confusing, and often fighting against Windows instead of streamlining it. The ROG Ally X is launching with a completely overhauled, redesigned Armory Crate SE. The goal? To make it feel less like a patch-over and more like a true console interface. We're talking instant access to performance profiles, simplified game launchers, and a unified place to control everything from fan curves to RGB. If Asus can finally nail the software experience, the Ally X will be unstoppable. A beautiful, powerful machine requires a beautiful, intuitive operating system. This is the final frontier. We've covered the power, the endurance, the memory, the feel, and the fixes. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the price and the competition. The ROG Ally X is not a cheap date. Speculation puts this device firmly in the premium bracket, likely $100 to $200 more than the current Ally, pushing it towards the $800 to $900 mark, potentially even higher, depending on the region. But look at what you're getting. A near double battery capacity, a 50% increase in RAM, a complete ergonomic redesign, Hall effect controls, and a new storage standard. This is the definition of value. How does it stack up against the competition? The Steam Deck OLED is the king of battery life and software simplicity, but the Ally X will crush it in raw Windows performance and compatibility. The Legion Go is the screen size king, but the Ally X's portability and rumored thermal efficiency will make it the better all-around machine for most people. The ROG Ally X is positioning itself as the uncompromised flagship. So, the final question, should you upgrade? If you own the original ROG Ally and are constantly tethered to a wall or frustrated by the lack of memory and the controls, the Ally X is not just an upgrade. It is the redemption of your original purchase. It fixes every meaningful flaw. If you're new to the handheld space, stop looking at anything else. The ROG Ally X is poised to be the most technically complete, fully featured, and most powerful PC handheld on the market at launch. This is the device that stops apologizing for its flaws and starts demanding your attention. This is the handheld PC we've been waiting for. The promise has been fulfilled. Let me know in the comments below. Is the ROG Ally X your next handheld? Like this video, subscribe for the deepest dives in tech, and I'll see you in the next one. Game on? Absolutely. To extend the previous script and push the engagement even further, here is an additional hyper-focus segment. This section dives deep into the numbers and the controversy surrounding the ROG Ally X, providing the in-depth analysis that a U.S. audience demands to justify a premium purchase. This content can be inserted directly after the conclusion of the previous scripts, the build, the feel, the fix section, before the screen and software analysis, or used as a massive expansion of the final verdict section. ROG Ally X. The deep dive expansion audio script. Let's be honest, the moment you heard about the massive upgrades, a single uncomfortable thought popped into your head. The cost. The original Ally launched at a competitive price, but the Ally X, this machine of zero compromises, demands a premium. We are looking at a confirmed MSRP of $999. $1,000. That's a statement. It puts the Ally X not just in a handheld conversation, but in the realm of mid-range gaming laptops and high-end consoles. So, the question is not if it's expensive, but if it's worth it. And to answer that, we must stop talking about rumors and start analyzing the cold, hard science of its greatest victory: endurance and efficiency. Think about the original Ally. It had a respectable 40 watt-hour battery. The Ally X ships with an 80 watt-hour cell. That's a 100% increase in capacity. This is monumental. This is ASUS throwing down the gauntlet and saying, "We heard you, and we've fixed our biggest mistake. We just doubled the playtime." This isn't just an upgrade. It recategorizes the device. It shifts the Ally X from a tethered portable PC to a true road warrior, all-day gaming machine. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. The new AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme chip. On paper, at the highest power settings, the performance gains over the Z1 Extreme seem minimal. But you don't buy a handheld to run at 30 watts on battery. You buy it for low wattage efficiency. And that's where the Z2 Extreme dominates. At 15 watts and below, where you play your indie games, older AAA titles, or even stream, the Z2 Extreme shows incredible generational gains. It sips power while delivering performance that the original Z1 could only dream of achieving at higher, more power-hungry TDPs. You combine that refined, low-power dominance with a gargantuan 80 watt-hour battery, and you realize the Ally X isn't just playing games for longer. It's delivering a far superior experience per watt. This is the definition of a finely tuned engine. Power when you need it, but incredible efficiency when you don't. The net result is a device that finally, truly, feels mobile. Now, let's address the two final, critical pieces of hardware that justify that four-figure price tag and crush the competition. First, the 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. This is huge. The 16 gigabytes limit of virtually every other handheld, including the Steam Deck and the Legion Go, force gamers to constantly fight Windows for system memory. The extra 8 gigabytes in the Ally X means the Windows operating system can breathe, and more importantly, you can dedicate a significantly larger pool of VRAM to your games. We're talking about eliminating texture pop-in, running higher visual settings, and maintaining minimum frame rates in demanding titles that simply choke on 16 gigabyte systems. This is the future-proofing you are paying for. This is the difference between an acceptable gaming experience and an uncompromised one. Second, the M.2 2280 SSD slot. This might sound technical, but this is pure value for the power user. The original Ally forced you into buying expensive, rare 2230 drives for upgrades. The Ally X now supports the universal, industry-standard 2280 form factor. This means huge storage capacity, 8 terabytes, 16 terabytes, at dramatically cheaper prices, easily and seamlessly. ASUS isn't just selling you a finished device. They're giving you a true, open-platform PC ready for limitless customization. The competition is fierce. The Steam Deck OLED has the blackest blacks and the simplest software, but it simply cannot keep up with the raw PC power, the massive RAM, or the Windows compatibility of the Ally X. The Legion Go brings a huge screen, but it's heavier, often inconsistent in its software, and historically struggles with the weight/battery balancing act. The ROG Ally X doesn't just meet them on the battlefield. It sets up a new standard. It takes the performance crown, fixes the fatal battery flaw, and gives you the ergonomics, the controls, and the customization of a $1,000 machine. That $999 price is no longer a controversy. It's the entry fee for the single most complete, powerful, and enduring handheld PC experience on the market.